Welcome to this Partner Showcase. My name is Guy Bartram. I'm Director of Product Marketing at Broadcom, and today I'm joined by Andrew from Rooted. Welcome, Andrew. Let's start with an introduction. Who are you and what do you do in Rooted?
Thanks, Guy. Very pleased to be here and chatting to you. My name's Andrew Cruz. I'm the Managing Director of Rooted Hosting, also known as Rooted. We're based in South Africa, so quite a long way away from here. This is in Brussels, for those who are watching. We are a VMware Cloud Foundation operator. We build, manage and support, upgrade VMware Cloud deployments, particularly in our own data centers in South Africa. We have 2 locations, and also for other service providers and other customers in their data centers and on-premise.
Right, that's quite unique. So your customers are actually also partners in many cases, is that right?
Yeah, it's quite unusual. We present almost like a vendor. If VMware had built their own cloud, we'd like to think that we are building it like they would.
Right.
So we follow best practices. We have a very good, let's say, I wouldn't say vanilla, but a very specialist deployment of Cloud Director, which is the multi-tenant platform on top of VMware Cloud Foundation. We use channel partners in order to add value to that service. So instead of doing managed services, IT support ourselves, we actually use a channel to do that, as a vendor would. And we support that channel, enable that channel for sales and marketing and technically in order to, we form an ecosystem really with our partners, with our resellers, in order to help them sell our product and in order to allow them to extend their services. So it's kind of complementary, allow them to offer something which they typically wouldn't be able to do, or maybe not able to do at the same sort of level of enterprise skill.
Yeah, so the South African market is obviously a different market to kind of a European market, for example. Is there any kind of unique differentiators there that you want to kind of point out that Rooted provides?
Yeah, so I think with South Africa, we're probably about 5 years behind the rest of the world in a lot of things. Sometimes we get to, I guess, skip some issues that other people have had. We can leapfrog certain technologies and certain mistakes. So, South Africa, for example, doesn't have a repatriation problem. We don't have a lot of people yet that have moved into hyperscale clouds like AWS and Google and Microsoft Azure. And so we don't have that story of people repatriating out because it's too expensive or mysterious line item charges or underperformance or lock-in. So yeah, we do have some benefits from being a little bit further behind. We can almost see the future in the rest of the world. I think one of the big differences between South Africa, which let's face it is an emerging market, and the first world, the Western Europe states.
I hate that expression.
Well, let's say the more mature markets, is that they've got a lot more money. Yeah. So there's less of a market from an absolute size in South Africa. So historically, people have tended to vertically integrate. They've tended to do managed services, IT support, sell hardware, sell internet connections, build their own cloud. Right. So there is a little bit of an inflection point which has happened in the last couple of years where people have realized that it's not that easy to build a good cloud. Yeah. And there is demand out there. There's quite low penetration. There are a lot of enterprise applications which are still on-premise. Not that they shouldn't be, but some of them could be in the cloud. And I think people are beginning to realize that focus is required. And it's also because the market is growing. Yeah. When you have a small market, each segment of the market from a vertical perspective is not really absolutely big enough to support specialist or focused providers. So we are very, very specialist and very, very expert at a layer, the foundation layer of that market, which is the underlying infrastructure hosted for critical applications. And we feel that we're that this is a necessity. Yeah. My example is always the guy who did my laser eye surgery. Your eyes are so important, you want to go to the experts in the field. You want to go to the guy who's been doing it for years and years and years, and he's got much less likelihood of messing it up because your eyes are so important to you. In the same way, business critical applications are so important to enterprises. Those line of business applications need to be hosted somewhere which is not going to mess it up. And it requires specialist infrastructure skills in order to build, architect, develop, and continually upgrade that.
Okay. So you mentioned you're in South Africa. You have 2 data center locations. Whereabouts are they?
Well, in fact, we have 3. One of them is our test and dev location.
Right.
I mean, there is a saying that everybody has test and dev. Some people have prod as well. So yeah, we have 3 locations. We use a data center provider in South Africa called Terraco Data Environments. Yeah, so they're very well known and the biggest data center provider in Africa. And they're actually owned by Digital Realty now. So a few years ago, there was an equity transaction where they were bought by a big American company. We fit in and align with what they do because they similarly are experts at facilities management, power, particularly in South Africa. You know, we have power cuts.
They run their own solar, don't they?
Yeah, they run their own solar. So they've got a 300 megawatt solar farm, and they do what's called electricity wheeling with the government, where they're able to actually keep their lights on, keep electricity even during load shedding because they run their own solar plants. Wow. And they have 500,000 liters of diesel fuel at each data center site, 21 generators and banks of power. You know, these chaps really know what they're doing. They're very focused, and we're aligned with that message. You know, they're the best in the country in our view, and we want that underpinning our infrastructure in order to tell that enterprise line of business critical application story.
Yeah, so you're actually helping in a lot of ways then by using a really good supply chain to deliver your services. You're getting a great sustainability overview, which you can then pass on to your customers when they're hosted in your environment. And you're also getting full resiliency, geolocation resiliency, and in data center resiliency with Terraco as well.
Yeah, and that supply chain story is something which applies at every level.
Yeah.
So underpinning everything is the colo facility, the power, the racks, the cooling, then the hardware, and we choose Dell typically for our servers. You know, we don't go with no-name brands or OEM providers. We want people to feel comfortable. We want to feel comfortable with our choice of hardware. NetApp, Vast Data, and vSAN is our storage layer. NVIDIA Mellanox is our switching layer, and Dell S5000. So we choose well-known brands. We have everything under warranty, and we refresh our hardware constantly. And this is a kind of trap that I think a lot of people, whether on-premise or in the cloud, fall into. After 5 or 6 or 7 years, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's just keep that stuff there.
The assets a bit more.
Yeah, and so we actually tend not to do that because we want our customers to continually get an improving experience. If people are moving into the cloud from on-premise and their choice is to buy new kit or to migrate, they want to get the kind of experience they're going to get from new kit.
Yeah.
So they need to have not stuff which is maybe older than their own hardware in the data center that they move to.
And consolidation, which will be cheaper ultimately.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, cloud and infrastructure is particularly a scale economy. There's also an efficiency and simplicity. So, we stick to our knitting. We don't get distracted by other services and products. There's no hourly skew on our product list. We don't sell time, which means that we're heavily focused and exclusively focused on making sure that our cloud is kept up to date and it's properly monitored, and that we're always making sure that it's up and running, the lights are on for our customers. And that's our promise to them, and they then add services on top of that.
You could say you sell quality.
Yeah, we sell sort of uptime, yes, quality, uptime, availability. Managed service providers sell the availability of people, skilled people, but it's the availability of a person at the end of the phone when you have a problem that you want to fix. We sell the availability of infrastructure.
Yeah.
We've had 100% uptime in both our data center locations since we built them, which was July, August, September in 2016.
Wow.
Touch wood. Even the best of us can have problems that are out of our control.
Yeah.
But our locations were built together at the same time from scratch, not codependent. Yeah. So completely independent stacks in both locations. And we've constantly upgraded them. And when we trickle down our hardware, we typically sell it to other cloud providers because it's newer than their stuff.
Yeah. There's always a market for that.
Yeah.
And so tell me about your customers then. You mentioned that some of them are partners and some of them are service provider partners and others are end customers.
Yeah.
Give me an idea on what that looks like.
I think the persona Broad persona of anybody who uses our platform is a service provider, some kind of service provider.
Internal or external?
Yeah. So ISPs often use our cloud not just for their own internal stuff, but also to sell cloud services to their customers. ISPs want to sell more internet, and cloud infrastructure allows them to sell more internet. So we are open access and vendor neutral. We allow people to use their own bandwidth and their own IPs on our platform. We'd even allow people to use their own storage on our platform if that's what they want to do. We focus very much on the compute layer, on the VMware layer, and the integration of the hardware and software hypervisor and add-ons like backup and disaster recovery. And again, we use best of breed for that. We use VCDA, the VMware Cloud Director Availability, and we use vCloud Connect Replication and vCloud Connect Backup and Veeam Backup and Replication for our backup layer.
And an integrated solution, a seamless kind of experience when you're using products like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And we actually investigate backup and DR products regularly, and we're happy to actually deploy more than one if it casts our net wider. I know when we're behaving like that vendor of products, if there are resellers out there that prefer to use a certain type of backup product that's integrated into our multi-tenant environment, then we're prepared to deploy it on their behalf. Like Zerto, for example, which we've also done recently for a reseller customer. So yes, our customers, our partners are typically those service providers. They can be a managed service provider. They can be developers that are offering a SaaS service to their customers. They can even be, for example, internal IT departments that are servicing their internal users. Now, we don't engage end users. We engage IT professionals, which are either a reseller company or reselling services into their environment. And that's, typically larger businesses have that in-sourced IT. In South Africa, it's quite common. I think in my background, I went to school and university in the UK. I grew up in Cape Town in South Africa. And then I worked in the UK for about 15 years. And I think the European market went into that sort of outsourced IT model in a very big way. And we missed that boat in South Africa. So there's a lot of in-sourced IT, which means that in order to engage larger businesses where typically the VMware story is a better value add, sometimes we do have to engage them directly, but we engage their IT department to provide services to the rest of the business.
Got it, okay. And if you had to kind of sum up your unique value proposition for customers watching this video, how would you sum up Rooted?
So from day one, we have promoted ourselves as exclusive experts in deploying this kind of infrastructure. When looking at business strategy, businesses either try and be the cheapest or they try and be the best. And we've always tried to be the best. Now, maybe you pay a little more for that, but if the price is proximal, people are prepared to do that if they want the best. Being the best means that you keep up to date with the software, you keep up to date with the hardware, you deploy constantly new products, and in order to give your partners and their customers a good experience. We feel that end customer businesses deserve a good cloud experience for their enterprise workloads. And we want to offer that. So we are the sort of counter to the fast and loose kind of players out there that just want to make a quick buck and try and make things cheaper. So we're very happy to invest. We invest in people, we invest in equipment, we invest in software, we invest in training, and we invest in new products on top of our environment. I mean, I guess it doesn't sound so unique because I'm sure everybody else says it, but it's very difficult to believe people who are doing multiple other services and products and who are typically distracted or disrupted by other parts of their business.
I think it's great. You know your space, you're sticking to your tram lines, and you're just providing expertise within that area, and that's fundamentally your value proposition.
We had our 9th birthday a few days ago, and we still have people coming up to us to say, we're so impressed that you have stuck to your knitting. We're so impressed that you've said no so often to people that asked you, please, would you do managed services? Please, would you provide IT support? Can you sell me some hardware? Can you sell me software? And we've had to sometimes be quite through gritted teeth and no, we're not going to do that. Turning away business is not a typical a typical thing for a company to do, but we feel incredibly strongly that specialization is important, and that we want to present as experts and specialists in that field. And we also feel very strongly that people shouldn't be trying to do something which is as difficult as this to do well. And that there is a big opportunity to aggregate and consolidate the market because it is a scale economy. And the larger volume that we have on our little piece of the stack, the more efficient we become, the better we can become, and the more cost-effective we can become.
Yeah.
So it actually benefits everybody if we can gain that scale.
Yeah, you're gaining economies of scale, absolutely.
And also, typically, people that are selling cloud, they may be doing it themselves, but people who are selling cloud, their real business is the managed service. Their real business is the professional service, the migration service. It's the layers in the cake that they're selling to their customers from a volume perspective. And there's a great deal of risk in retaining a cloud infrastructure, which might be a bit creaky. It's the foundation of the services they provide their customers. If that goes down, all of the services suffer. Yeah. So actually, from a risk perspective, if they hand that over to somebody who is an expert in the field, then they're able to sleep at night and invest more of their management emotional capital, time and effort into selling what they do well, which is the managed service, the time.
Yeah.
There is it's a division of labor argument.
Yeah, I mean, managed services obviously has its place, and when your customers are more provider orientated, they're gonna not necessarily need managed services, but they are going to need an infrastructure that they can provide their services on, so they can focus on their business rather than the infrastructure.
Yeah. Well, I think all customers need some element of managed services. Sometimes they deliver it in-sourced and sometimes outsourced. Yeah. But either way, we're not providing it. And so we're not competing with other cloud providers. In effect, they're prospects of ours. We don't do what managed service cloud provider vertical businesses do as their lifeblood. Yeah. So we only do the one thing. So people could use us without fear of us trying to steal their customer, because we're not interested in the end customer. We're interested in the underpinning infrastructure.
So if people in South Africa, companies in South Africa need a rock solid infrastructure from a very reliable business with a great underpinning infrastructure in a data center that's kind of very sustainable and can run optimally in all sorts of resilient scenarios, Rooted is the answer then. Yes,
although you might not engage with us directly.
Yeah.
So, if you require something like the managed service on top of that, then we will give you a list of our reseller partners. We work very well together with those partners. So, we just care about the customer getting a great experience. Yeah. We don't care about having the direct relationship with the customer. We think the customer deserves to have a better service from a managed service provider that's specialist in providing that, and a cloud provider underpinning that.
Absolutely, that's clear. So thank you, Andrew. Just before we go, can you tell people how they can find out more about Rooted? Where do they go?
Sure. So obviously we have a website. It's www.rooted.co.za. Some people say routed. I don't care what you call me, just call me. You can find our contact us form on that website, and we'll get back to you. Please do call.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Guy.
Cheers.
Cheers.